Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's dive into a story where one employee's laziness cost his company a staggering $2 million. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Sure, we'll stop bothering you. I used to work at a call center that performed level 1 support for a bunch of companies that wanted to outsource it. Today, our story will focus in on Jackwagon, a Tier 2 tech for our client, big customer, BC, that doesn't want to do his job. Before I begin the story, let me give context about the kind of guy Jackwagon is. He rarely responded to escalated issues until 2 or 3 days after we send them up. We know this isn't because he was busy, because the rest of the Tier 2 team wasn't busy. He never read our documentation and frequently routed tickets back to us, asking us to do things we'd already done. He'd also route them back to us with instructions on how to move forward with more complex procedures, also known as do his job for him. It was bad enough to the point where I had started an Excel spreadsheet with the ticket number, name, date, reason for escalation, Jackwagon's reason for routing it back, and why it shouldn't have been routed back. This is important later. The incident itself happened on a Saturday when I unfortunately wasn't in. A satellite site of BC called in reporting a system wasn't working. This was a Priority 1 system that had to have any issues resolved immediately. Unfortunately, it was also so buttoned up that we weren't able to access it as Tier 1, so it always got escalated. As soon as we get the call, one of the agents sends the escalation email and, per the on-call procedures for after-hours issues, called Jackwagon. Jackwagon didn't answer. The procedures state that we have to call him every 15 minutes and leave a voicemail every time, so that's what was done. Then an email is received from Jackwagon, "Stop calling me, I'm busy." So we did. The next part happened on Sunday when I was in the office. Jackwagon calls, furious that we hadn't done our job and the system was still down. I tell him we can't touch that system because we don't have access. I point out that according to our documentation, we'd called him to the tune of 6 times. He huffed and hung up. Then the BCIT director called. He wanted to know what happened. I gave him a dutiful report, and he stated he would like to speak to my manager. I informed him management was not in on Sundays, but I could make a phone call and see if we could get them to call him. He said that wouldn't be necessary and hung up. On Monday, I came into an email from my manager asking for the spreadsheet I'd been keeping and for me to come and see him, along with the rest of the crew working with BC. I sent it to him and we showed up for debriefing. The manager has successfully proven via documentation on our ticketing system and theirs that we had followed all given procedures. Blame was dropped squarely on Jackwagon, whose lack of action had lost the company $2 million. Turns out that Satellite Site was demoing BC services to a client and that they were negotiating these services for all of their locations. But after the issue failed to be resolved in a timely manner and caused significant loss of income, they weren't interested in moving forward with the contract. My manager, who knew of my pure hatred for Jackwagon, I was the head agent on that account, so I dealt with him the most, and of my vendetta against him, casually mentioned that Jackwagon had been screwing up a lot lately, hadn't he? The director hadn't heard anything about that, so my manager mentioned my spreadsheet to him. I came in the following Monday to find my manager waiting by my desk, grinning ear to ear. The news had just come down that Jackwagon was fired. I was so happy that I bought pizza for the entire BC team. Jackwagon's going to have a hard time finding a decent paying job. I guess he'd be stuck flipping cheap frozen beef patties at minimum wage, since it'd be hard to screw that red and yellow company out of $2 million working in the kitchen. And our second story. Once a Dollar Tree employee, always a Dollar Tree employee. To start this off, it's the end of June, and I start getting school supplies for my cousin. She has 7 kids, and getting them back to school clothes is enough to break her wallet, so I help her with the supplies. Mind you, she has 2 kids going to high school this year, so now I gotta buy these TI calculators. The rest of the kids are in middle school and elementary, so I can get away with getting them Dollar Tree supplies. For those who don't know, Dollar Tree, literally everything's $1 or less. So I order their school supplies online in bulk. pens, pencils, markers, crayons, paper, folders, notebooks, etc., altogether spending a little over $200, which, considering I got a lot of supplies that can last them this year and next, I find that is a steal. So while at work, I got a notification that my items were at my Dollar Tree ready for pickup. Since they're already paid for, all I have to do is pick them up and leave. Immediately after work, I head over. For context, I'm dressed in business casual, some black slacks and a teal blouse. I talk to the cashier who calls the manager. He then goes to the back to get my supplies. I tell the cashier I'm going to shop a little if that's okay. She told me she'd let her boss know. I take a basket and head down the aisles. I grab some cleaning supplies, snacks, toys for the kids. I'm in the toy aisle looking at a styrofoam football to see if that's something the boys would like. I decide to get them putty instead. I felt someone tap me on the shoulder and I turn around. Me, yes? Woman, do you know how much this is? She asked, holding up a broom. I give a confused look. It's $1. Woman, thank you. She leaves and I thought that was it. I used to work for Dollar Tree, and this question is one of the stupidest questions I used to get all the time while working there. While in the pet aisle grabbing a cat ball for my rabbit, he loves to throw them around his cage. I hear a loud, "Ma'am." I flinched for a minute because my attention was somewhere else. When I looked up, it was the woman from before. Woman, can you open a register? It's getting busy up here. Me, oh, I'm sorry, I don't work here. Woman, but you gave me a price check. I just looked at her confused and point up to the banner along the wall of the store. What does that say? The woman scoffed. It says everything is a... Before she finished her statement, she turned around and left a little embarrassed. I make it up to the register and the manager is at the end waiting for me with my bulk order. I purchase my items and I head out the door to load my car, returning for my bulk items, and the manager helped me load my car. The lady that asked me to open the register walked by with her bags and pointed to me. Woman, excuse me, sir, your employee was rude. She made me feel stupid and refused to open a register. I'm even more confused now. I thought that she was embarrassed because she realized I don't work here. Apparently she was embarrassed because I had to point out that everything is $1 and that her price check was stupid. I didn't do that intentionally. I just wanted to avoid a confrontation and have her leave me alone. The manager looks at me and says sarcastically, "Don't worry, ma'am. I'll make sure we have a talk." The woman looked smug as she turned on her heel and left. He gave me a look and we laughed as we finished loading my car. I got to my cousin's house and told them the story. The eldest, Dax, cracked a joke as he helped me take the school supplies in. Maybe it's because you started working at Dollar Tree when you were younger. You'll always be their cashier. We play-fought over that. The thing that bugs me is the fundamental lack of accountability. Why didn't the manager just say, "She doesn't work here"? Why do we play along with psychopathic narcissists because it's not worth the fight? Why do we constantly let people get away with acting insane because it's not our problem? And our next story. Stay the hell off my lawn, Karen. So we just got a new Karen as our next door neighbor, and let me tell you, she wasted no time making her presence known. This all started around 7 a.m. this morning when she stormed up our driveway with the fury of 1,000 middle-class white women. You know the type, voice raised, finger wagging, and absolutely determined that the world should bend to her whims. Karen moved into the house at the bottom of the property next to ours, and within a week, she's come up with a list of complaints for our property manager, a.k.a. my mom. Her first grievance? One of the tenants who lives at the house at the bottom of our driveway allegedly backed their car onto her property while trying to get out. Okay, so what? Just go tell him directly, Karen. But no, she had to march up to our place to relay her list of offenses. Grievance number 2, a tradesman working on restoring the shed behind that same house also had the audacity to go back onto her precious land. Now, Karen, unless you expect us to install GPS trackers on every person who comes onto the property, we can't control every move they make. But sure, we'll let them know. Spoiler, we're not his boss, so good luck with that. Grievance number 3, get this. Karen's mad at us for the actions of neighbors on the other side of her property who have also apparently backed onto her land. Lady, we don't even know those people. Why are you coming to us about this? Go over there and complain. They're your problem, not ours. And then we get to her piece de resistance. Karen informs us that our driveway extends 1 meter onto her property, and oh, the tree in the middle of our yard? Yeah, apparently it's on her property too, and she's having it removed. As if that wasn't absurd enough, she starts telling us that the property lines changed when the previous owner sold the house to us. Pause. Karen, you've got to do your homework before you try to bluff us. My great-grandmother purchased this land back in 1913. That's right, we've been here for 110 years, through generations. The property lines haven't changed in over a century, and the property has never been sold. If you're going to lie, Karen, at least lie to someone who doesn't know the family history of their land. Minor update, things have been relatively quiet for the past few days, but we've installed a shiny new camera pointed directly down the driveway at the tree in question, just in case she decides to do something sneaky. We've also gathered a stack of signed legal documents confirming that all of the work being done by the handyman is legit, above board, and fully approved. Karen's going to have a tough time getting anywhere with her bogus claims. In the meantime, I'm looking into the local tree laws just to make sure our tree is protected, because if Karen thinks she's going to take it down without a fight, she's got another thing coming. Also, I'm seriously considering a bulk order of Claymore gnomes to line the property. You know, just for that extra touch of stay the hell off my lawn. Seeing that shed get torn down felt like sweet, sweet victory. And our last story. His car is too low class for our middle class neighborhood. Every few weekends, my manager comes over to my house to help work on a side project for the company. When he comes over, he parks in front of my house. The house across from mine just happens to be one of the worst Karens I've ever met HOA volunteers. She tends to take her job a bit too seriously. Anyway, she complains to my wife and I every time she sees the car like clockwork. She'll either call or wait until she sees us outside. The first time, she even took it upon herself to write a letter about how it's better for everyone if we can keep up a certain image in the neighborhood. I explained to her that he's my manager after the letter about a year ago. She accused me of lying since I drive a nice truck and have a nice house, so she knows I bring in a decent salary. She assumed that my manager made more, therefore he needs to own a nice car. I then explained that my manager makes $250K per year and drives a beater because he doesn't care about his image. She then goes on some rant about how she goes into massive debt to keep up the right image for the neighborhood, and that it's ignorant of my manager to save his money and buy a beater when people like her are paycheck to paycheck to keep up with the Jones. Lucky for me, I can't get fined, but I still find it quite annoying that she's worried about the cars that my guests drive. I told my manager about her constant complaining every time he's over. He joked that he'll spray paint his car with chalk next time he comes over, just to make it look as trashy as possible. I told him to dress in his worst clothes as well and slowly get out of the car to make sure she notices. That was a great read. Thanks. People who actually have money don't usually feel the need to make sure everyone knows they have it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.